So at their March 2nd meeting, the commission voted that amendment number 1 to Resolution 301 is consistent with the Talbot County Comprehensive Plan. During that discussion, they noted that the comprehensive plan policies support the protection of the county's waterways and that an upgrading of the existing wastewater treatment plant to ENR standards can help with the existing impairment of Trappe Creek. And they also noted that there are alternatives to allowing connections to the existing plant. And I don't know if Mr. Council wants to expand on that.
So as you know, a resolution or an amendment to the comprehensive water and sewer plan comes before the Planning Commission. So when the Planning Commission looks at consistency with the comprehensive plan, we go by 7 standards, and we look at those 7 standards alone. So your job is a little bit tougher than that. So if the Planning Commission finds that a resolution or amendment is consistent, it then comes back to you. But we do not look at the financial implications. We don't look at the interjurisdictional politics, if you will. We don't look at vesting, if that has occurred or if it didn't. And quite honestly, we don't even look if it's really practical. What we do is say, if the majority of the county council wanted to do this, is it consistent with the comprehensive plan? We're all trying to get to the same place, maybe from a little different aspect. And if there is the ability to do something to help the waters of Trappe Creek, I think we're all going to have to work together. We're going to have to be creative and work with all the parties involved. And I don't think the Planning Commission is interested in, we want to work together to support you to work towards that means.
The letter that you all wrote in November that basically, I mean, we've heard a lot of information, enough to cause concern. You know, maybe not all of it's true, but enough to cause concern.
Right.
Hence, we've been going through this process for close to 9 months.
Yeah.
And the letter that you all wrote in November basically said you wanted the startup phase, as written, that connecting the startup phase was not consistent with the comp plan, and that connecting to ENR technology, whatever that may be,
Yep.
whatever format is available to do that, whether it's something that would have been existing, which is not existing, or could be built in the future, or something that's temporary.
Right.
You know, I've been trying to come up with a compromise, never intending to stop the project. Obviously, there's people out there that don't like it. They just were hoping that it would just go away.
Right.
That's never been my intention, to stop the project. And so when the original 313, which was just, okay, let them connect for 18 months, just put something in writing so it would just be 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, probably not that much would get built, and we could all live with that. Well, that wasn't consistent, so it's like, okay, so now what? So based on your letter, I wanted it connect, said, let's put an amendment on to connect to ENR technology. I don't care what kind of ENR technology it is, as long as it's ENR. And the amendment did get written that the wastewater treatment plant itself needed to be ENR. Nobody caught it. That is probably too restrictive, because it does, I think, stop anything until the wastewater treatment plant is going to get upgraded. We know that's in the works, but that's 3 or 4 years down the road. Okay, so there's nothing about what we're doing here that speeds up or slows down what Trappe has in the works, which is great. Need to be ENR technology, but it takes time. Meanwhile, we have a development being built, and the question is there technology available to make it better, like you're saying, to protect the riverways, rather than just connecting to a plant? It's not great. It's compliance most of the time, but we have something better, and there is something better available. So maybe the cleanest way to do it is, because Amendment 1, unless the rest of the council feels differently, may be too restrictive, and my intent was always to just have them connect to some form of ENR technology, because it does exist, is just to let that new resolution in a very clean format so that we don't have to have amendments, this, that, and the other thing, because if it was Amendment 2 with that terminology or a brand-new resolution, the time frame is exactly the same because it would have to go back to you guys. It's the exact same language, but it does allow the developer a lot more flexibility than Amendment 1 does. Again, in searching for a compromise to protect the rivers, that is doable, that there is something available that they could do.
If the county council were to vote for 313,
Right.
and let's say it's amended,
Right.
that now is pending MDE approval. So I'd have to submit that to MDE for their approval. So every amendment that goes to the comp water sewer plan process, the county council, once the planning commission finds it consistent with the comp plan, the county council then votes on that, and they vote in favor of it. It's pending MDE approval. So every resolution that we process has to be submitted to MDE, and then they have to review it and approve it.
281 is passed.
Correct.
It's right now.
Correct.
So can you explain to us now, what does that do now?
That means that the town and the developer are working as if, with MDE. They've approved that. They approved Resolution 281 as
Okay.
amended
Okay.
on November 4th, 2020.
Okay.
So
Right.
the town and the developer have moved forward in seeking permits through MDE. The one thing I think the developer's still working on, and I think everybody knows that, is the discharge permit. They have not received the final discharge permit. So that is still in review by MDE.
I'm
So
with you.
my understanding is that until MDE issues the final determination on the discharge permit, the developer is not in a position to move forward and construct the wastewater treatment plant. They would need that permit in order to get issued what they call an MDE construction permit to do that plant.
But now what you're saying is that permit is in their hands, not our hands.
Correct.
So at that point, they are working with what they have done, what you were getting ready to explain, so everybody understands. The developer and the town of Trappe have signed an agreement, and they have paid them $600,000 to go ahead and hook up into their plant now, until they get their new discharge and their new plant all straight. That's where we're at.
Correct. And there's, to be honest, I mean, there's been nothing from MDE's perspective saying there's a change. Right now, they're working off of the premise that Resolution 281 was approved. They've approved it. They've been hearing a lot of information, and I think that's what transmitted the letter to the council
Right.
and then the planning
Right.
commission was what's going on, because they were asking questions about that. So I think because if the council had voted one way or another on 308, that meant MDE's going to have to take some type of action. If they do some, 313, MDE may have to take some type of action.
So right, yeah, that's what I want to get clear in my head, so everybody understands in a simplified way. So now where we're at now is they're hooked up. So,
No,
yeah, they are.
they're not hooked up.
They're hooked up. They're hooked up to town right now, okay? They're just waiting for the houses to be built.
That is my understanding too.
Correct.
They were secured a permit from MDE to make that interconnection between the new development of Lakeside to the existing wastewater treatment plant. That is my understanding. That was done and issued.
That's my understanding too.
Yes.
And they have issued, our county has issued the permits to build the new homes.
The county, I don't think we get involved in.
Not the county,
The town.
The health department has signed off on building homes there.
Thus, the environmental health office has signed
Yes.
off on the plat.
Gotcha, okay. To build the homes.
Correct.
Question or statement, question for
Yeah,
clarification.
okay, no problem.
So 308, which was all about 281, was about what I'm going to say the long-term connection, whether they could build the spray irrigation plant for the long-term solution for however many homes they build. What 313 was intending to address was simply the startup phase for a finite period of time, because however many homes get built, 5, 10, 50, or 100, in the next couple years, there's concern, based on a lot of information we heard about Trappe Creek, of hooking up that number of homes. So it's really, so there are two different things. So all I'm trying to say is 308 is kind of the long-term, big picture thing that's where MDE has the responsibility to approve or not approve that discharge permit, where the county had a role that MDE doesn't really care about, is this short-term part of it, which was 313, in how to deal with the startup phase. MDE has no role in that. So we had the role in the startup phase if we chose to change it, which we've talked about. But the 281, what you're referring to, you're right, is the big picture. But I think what we were trying to solve was the startup phase, and that's what 313, which is now going to be, maybe be 327, depending on what we decide to do here, was to address that. So they really were two different areas. I mean, and people got confused with them being together, but I think it's clear now that rescinding 281 is gone. Now we're just saying, should we deal with the startup phase and make that better, make that connection better for however long they're going to be connected while everything else goes through its process.
Right. And I agree with you, Mrs. Rice. So I'm just trying to understand really what 281 does, okay? So 281 does exactly what you just said. Mm-hmm. It puts the developer and the town together. So, and let me know if I'm not right here. Mm-hmm. So once that happens, okay, everything's in that municipality, in the town of Trappe now. And it's Trappe doing what they want to do. So now what we're doing as a council, we're making an amendment and diving into a municipality, telling them how to hook up their septic.
And that's where,
Or sewer, I'm sorry.
that's where, again, going back, let's say you move with 313 or 327.
Yes.
The county council, whatever you decide to do, if you voted in majority for
Yes.
one of those resolutions, again, the council's action is pending MDE approval. So what would happen is I would take that resolution, like let's say you voted on resolution 313 as amended
Yes.
tonight, I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
I would take that, I would basically put a cover letter on it, send that to Lee Curry with MDE, saying, please, review this and processes and review and approve this.
Mm-hmm.
So that would then go from me to him. That would take anywhere from 30 to 90 days to do that. And then they would come back with one of three options. They deny it, they approve it, or they approve it with changes. Yeah, conditions or changes, yes. So then that would probably, the same situation would happen if you went with 327. If the county council is moving forward with 327, a new resolution that's amending the comp water sewer plan, after the planning commission finds it consistent, the county council votes for it, it's now pending MDE approval. So, and then I don't know how MDE is going to respond to that.
Yeah, but I mean, I've had enough conversations with MDE. They don't want to overrule a local government. They,
Right.
if they trust that we go through a process, and they're pretty much going to approve the things that we send to them because they know we've gone through an entire process. I don't think we're jumping in between a developer and a town because it's our comp water and sewer plan, and and we've already been through this, that they have to come to us. They needed to come to us to get our permission to do it. That's why 281 existed in the first place. They had to come to us. It's not their comp water and sewer plan, it's ours, hence you saw 17 of them this evening. And, whether it's an individual property, whether it's a municipality, or whether it's our own change, it has to go through us, that we are the governing body for that. So that's the only thing I would say, is that we're not jumping in between the town and the developer, because they have to go through us to begin with.
So if I took the position, as I'm going to move that we vote down 313 in its entirety, and have a majority vote that it is voted down, and then provide you direction to send a letter of support to MDE requesting them to expedite the permits and work with us in any capacity that we can work with the municipality of Trappe to improve their facility and fund it as quickly as we can, which I see as the compromise that nobody asked for. Trappe on their own went out and decided to upgrade their plant, while the developer had already said that they were going to build their own plant. I do see us getting in the way of things, because we're looking at 120 houses that are going to hook up to this plant. And yes, it sounds scary, but I see septics fail all the time in this community. And we just voted on legislation right now to clean up septics. And so if we end this, we allow them to hook up, the Trappe plant gets built, it gets improved faster, we do everything we can with the developer to improve that facility, we're going to direct the majority of the development in this community to one municipality that's going to have 2 of the best wastewater treatment facilities. And I see that as a win. In the short time, I'm extremely concerned about all of our rivers, but they haven't failed. And sure, rivers didn't fail Trappe Creek. Are there issues? Certainly. Could it be better? Absolutely. Could we maybe add those houses that have septics on Trappe Creek to improve it? Certainly. Have they asked? No. Could they? Yes. But they're not going to, and they're not. And so I think we have, Mr. Clark, the developer, and Shore Rivers all said that they would prefer Mr. Clark to run the facility if they could, not the developer. I think we have everything in-house that we can, all the tools that we need to monitor Trappe, to help a municipality in our county do the best that they can. And that's what this comes down to, is monitoring and making the small actions quickly enough to keep the numbers in compliance. And I get so frustrated with the community that says things like, it's just the little town of Trappe. How are they going to hire anybody who can run that facility? That's so offensive. It's the same thing with the town council. Oh, they're just a town council. How are they going to maintain? That's what we staff for. That's such an offensive opinion that is being spread over and over again when we do have the talent to do this. I'm done debating it. I'm ready to make the motion to resend, or to vote down 313, 281 stands, the developer gets to move on. Is that correct? How that would happen?
Well, Mr. Divilio, I would turn to Mrs. Price and ask her that you're looking for a compromise.
Sure.
Would you be willing to withdraw 313? Okay, bear with me. Go to 327. Let the planning commission take a look at it.
Oh, 327 to
Okay,
go forward.
so if we all can get to a place, that works, 327, then that Ray just said, we turn that over to MDE.
But
That's what.
they're already vested. They've already paid.
I
You said
know
the line.
that. I know that.
So with Laura's plan, it's a package unit. You're going to force the developer to purchase a package unit to put out there and not use the line that they've already paid for and run.
So,
We wouldn't force anything, the MDE would.
If we, 327 would say that they could not hook up to
No.
those houses.
so we'll,
To the Trappe plant, right?
we can't do anything really to speed up the Trappe wastewater treatment plant. It just takes time, and that's moving forward, and we are going to be very supportive of that. I'm supportive of that, regardless of whether Lakeside existed, that plant.
327 specifically.
I'm not talking about 327 right now, I'm just trying to get at the big picture. Whether Lakeside existed or not, that wastewater treatment plant needed to be upgraded, just like Tillman and others, and the Wyatt Preserve, all of that stuff. I think we all agree on the fact that we want to have the best technology possible for our wastewater treatment plants. And that is going to move forward, whether Lakeside development ever was on the map or not. And yeah, maybe over the next couple of years, maybe they will find a way for something just to, instead of building 2. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. My concern is the short-term connection that is not going to be good for that river. And nothing about, whether it's 313 or 327, depending on what the amendment had been on 313, let's just say 327, as it goes to a process, doesn't stop their development at all. I mean, and we'll discuss it a little further as we go forward, but they could, again, there's modular, temporary, that they can bring in and just let it filter through there, and then it would still more than likely go over to the Trappe plant. But what you've done is you put a little, I'm just going to be simple, a little unit in between. You got houses, you have an ENR little unit, and then you go on over to the Trappe wastewater treatment plant. It's already been treated to ENR, and yet they're still receiving it, so you don't need to get a discharge permit in the middle of this process, because I did get a memo back from MDE today that if you did the little modular temporary thing, that they would still need a discharge permit. Well, that's going to take too long and all that, but you can. I'm going to say it's a little filter unit is what I'm basically trying to describe it as. However many homes, filter unit, pipe it on over to the wastewater treatment plant. So what you've done is you've found a way, a compromise, to treat that effluent to ENR levels, still go to the Trappe wastewater treatment plant while they're figuring out the long-term solutions.
So 327, as you see it, would be forcing a developer to purchase and build a package unit and pump their effluent over to the Trappe plant for the Trappe to discharge.
That is one solution. If there's a better solution for them, again,
So what does Trappe think about that? Because I haven't had an opportunity to ask
well,
them.
they've already accepted that they're going to take a certain amount of EDUs at the Trappe plant as long as they have capacity. So we're not changing that at all. I just want the effluent to be to a better level.
How do you address that with the town of Trappe? Is that even an option that they would be willing to?
Well, they're going to take it anyway. Why wouldn't they take cleaner effluent?
Why haven't you talked to them? August 24th is when we rescinded this.
Okay, we're not going to do all this tonight because
I'm 100% going to do all this.
327 is not what we're discussing right now. We're going to deal with 313, and we're going to see what we're going to do with 327. So right now,
that has everything to do with my action tonight. I'm not going to make an action tonight until I know what 327
I'm not willing to
is
just
gonna be.
let them connect to, until we go through the process.
Well, we don't even know if that's a feasible option because you haven't spoken with the municipality.
I've spoken with MDE, and it is a feasible option.
So-
And if it costs the developer a little bit more money, then it does. It might not.
Honestly, since last summer, I've heard from hundreds of our constituents, and they have asked us to do something about this. They have concerns about the health of Trappe Creek. They have some broader concerns. This is fairly narrowly focused. This amendment is fairly narrowly focused on not this whole Lakeside development, but just on that first phase, that first 120 homes. Not one of those people that we've heard from has said to leave things as the council set forth in Resolution 281 as amended. That not one of them has said that the sewer plan that we set forth there and approved by MDE is good enough. The only exceptions that we've heard from, to the contrary, are those who represent either the town of Trappe or the developer Rocks in some sort of official capacity, those in whose financial interest it is to leave the arrangements as they are. I think that we owe it to our constituents to vote for this amendment on 313. And so I will ask us to vote on that. This is a vote for cleaner water.
Now,
Yes, we're trying to figure out if we're going to force this developer to buy a package unit and pump their effluent over to the town of Trappe without having discussed with the town of Trappe if they're willing to do with that. Or how they would do it financially, if there would be a cost. I would assume if a development comes and is going to pump effluent to one of our wastewater treatment facilities, we'd have a shared agreement with them or something, right? Wouldn't we have to work with them? I don't understand why we can't just vote down 313 and let the powers be sue MDE and
Well,
prove that MDE was fine. and
each
move
council
forward.
member gets a vote, so let's take it.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second for amendment one?
I'll second the motion.
It needs a motion, somebody has to make a motion to adopt the amendment, then it needs a second, and then you put it to a vote.
Just did.
Mr. Callahan?
No.
Mr. Divilio?
No.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pat?
No.
So I would like to go ahead and request that we send a letter to MDE explaining that we're prepared to move forward with legislation as passed, and that we would like their help and would be willing to help them in any possible way to help improve Trappe's plant as quickly as we can, as well as getting permits.
Yeah, so to
You're right.
Mr. Divilio's point,
Yeah.
308 has now been resolved.
Right.
So we should follow what you said and send that response back to MDA.
Because they needed a response from
Right.
us.
And you said that we would wait till after we dealt with
You're right.
308.
I remember.
I'm taking you as
You're
your word as
right.
man.
You're right.
As we dealt with 308, not
You're-
wait again.
Right. No,
for
you're-
327.
you're 100%
But you said
right.
you would wait till 308.
Yep.
That's what you told me.
Yep.
So I make a motion that we submit a letter to MDE explaining what we've done, our stance, and that we would prefer to have them work as fast as they can to help Trappe improve their plant, and that we were willing to work with them as well.
But I don't, we need to see we are going to need to see the letter. I would like to see.
Okay.
Can we, I mean, how do I vote on a letter that I don't know what the wording is? I think I would like to see the draft letter. Of course, I am supportive of anything MDE can do to expedite the Trappe wastewater treatment plant. But if it starts getting wrapped up in all the other stuff, then I'd be hesitant about it. So is there any way that we can actually see the draft letter? Because I don't want to vote for or against something when I don't actually know the verbiage that's in it.
I think we can draft a letter and bring it back to the council for approval by the next meeting.
Okay.
Certainly, and then you can
Fair
approve it.
enough.
We can send it. In the meantime, I think one of us can just reach out to NBE informally just to let them know what happened, and the letter will be forthcoming so that they're aware. I think the motion should be to direct staff and the Office of Law to draft a letter for council's approval at the next meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Divilio?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Pat?
Yeah, why not? All right.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.